You know, when you get down to it, what's the big deal, right? I mean, sure, there's the touching and the feeling, all of each other. My hands everywhere, tracing every inch of her body. The two of us moving together, pressing, pulling, grinding. Then you hit that sweet spot, and everything just builds and builds and builds until it all just...
Welcome to Idling in the Impala, podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fanfiction it inspires. Just before we begin, we want to remind you to like, subscribe, follow wherever you listen to us so you don't miss any episodes or bonus content. If you love what we do and want an easy way to show your support, please consider leaving us a positive, all of the stars, guys, not, like don't do 4, like 5, all of the stars, ratings on your favorite listening platform. It helps supernatural and fanfic lovers find us and share the fun. I'm Kasey.
I'm Sandra, and happy Valentine's Day. It's Unattached Drifter Christmas. And
Woo!
We know that this is coming out on the 13th. Valentine's Day is going to be Wednesday. And we just wanted to share a lot of love about the boys and supernatural. So we've got an interesting episode planned. We are going to attempt an interesting episode. But before that, I wanted to highlight the fact that on February 15th, it is International Fan Works Day. And it's an annual event that celebrates and promotes fan works of all kinds. So this started out about 10 years ago by OTW, who's responsible for Archive of Our Own. So basically, it's just a day where, you know, we celebrate each other and all of the wonderful things that we do within fandom. Idling in the Impala is going to try to do a little something on our Discord server. So if you are not already a part of our Discord server, why? Go into our description info, sign in, become a part of the community. We're going to have unveiled before this, probably maybe a week or so before, to everybody who's already in the server with us, a new like FicRex forum channel where we want to give our members an opportunity to, you know, love on something they've done and love on something someone else has done. There'll be information, but basically on Thursday, February 15th, we kind of want everybody to love all over each other and, you know, talk
all the
about
love, guys.
All the love about that. So it's an attempt. We're going to give it a try, see how it goes. We have a small but very interested group in our Discord, so we'd love it if you join us. So just consider, if you hear this, join us and share the love about fan fiction on February 15th.
The day after Unattached Drifter Christmas.
Yes.
And also, if anyone out there is going, Kasey did the intro, that must mean there's a guest. Psych! No, there isn't.
No.
Sandra had the thing about fanworks, and she was like, "No, you do the intro, and I'll do the thing." She had it written down. So no guest this week, just us. Sorry? Question mark? I just wanted to address that because I know if I was listening to this, I'd be like, "Wait, Sandra does the intro unless there's a guest. Where's the guest, guys?"
Yeah.
So not this week.
We are attempting, and I feel like this is going to become forever many years we continue to do this on Valentine's Day, where we have an idea in mind, but we're not really quite sure how we're going to go about it. And I think what's interesting about Valentine's Day in general is that it's kind of very anti a lot of what the boys are about on the show in terms of relationship. You know, they have a hard time with relationships in general, how to show their emotions, different things like that. So last year, when we had a Valentine's Day episode, we talked about, you know, where Sam and Dean kind of fell on the sexuality spectrum, romantic styles, different things like that. So we'll definitely link that episode and all of its mess in the description. What we've kind of thought of, or I did, because I read this really interesting article, a post on Tumblr by Frozen Delight, and we'll link the user and the post in the description as well, so you can follow along if you want. But it basically theorized that Dean is depicted sort of as a female other on the show. And I'm one that really loves cinematography, you know, like why directors decide why they're going to do what they do in the scene, what they're going to focus on, all of the different parts of a show, the writing, the interpretation by the actors, the set designers, all of those things that come together. And the one thing I kind of thought that was very interesting about the theory that Dean is depicted as a female other, and I'd found another link reference where it's like the other gender. And basically that just means women's status in patriarchal societies as explored in, and it talks about a whole other book, Simon de Beauvoir's, I don't know how to say anything in French, The Second Sex, where women are defined and differentiated in relation to men, constituting norms. They are inessential, the other, in opposition to the essential, a man as the subject, the absolute, the one. What I think is interesting is that when you talk about Sam and Dean, you don't just have one person like writing this story. You've got somebody filming the script. You've got actors acting the parts. And the fact that maybe not throughout the whole entire series, but I think a good part of the first half of the series, I really do think you see different directors, different writers kind of using Dean as that sort of other character on the show. So to me, that's either a group effort or a lot of people are just zoning in on this fact or this vibe or something that they're just kind of like continuing with. And I think that's really...
I don't think it's either. I think you're giving the writers too much credit.
I think it might be, but I think also like production, producers, there's this feeling I get where like a lot of shows, if they're written, produced, directed by one particular person, they've kind of like they're steering the ship. So I think you could say that like for Kripke, like the Kripke era, Gamble, which I really feel that Sarah Gamble, as much of a shit show season 6 and 7 were, I think she really wanted the focus on Sam and Dean very much. And I think there was a lot of pushback for lots of reasons on that. And I think she just didn't know how to really flesh that out well. Then you had Carver and then you had Dab. And I feel like in each one of those instances, I kind of just, I don't know, I feel like that first part of it in this article, and again, this Frozen Delight is just, I'm going to be reading from some of their stuff. So we'll definitely make sure that it's all in the description. But yeah, that was kind of like my overall, like wanting to go through some examples that this one particular person had found. So of course, through another discussion they'd had with someone else. Kasey's right away like, no, it's not either. What do you think it is, Kasey? What do you think it is?
I don't think it's a group effort or I don't think it's a group effort because there are so many different writers. There is no it was like the first 5 seasons of Kripke's idea, but he didn't write every episode to the best of my knowledge. I don't have Wikipedia open. But I don't there's so many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, that I don't think it would be physically possible to get that many people all on board with one idea.
Well,
I just don't.
I think it's like if you take a kitchen reference and you talk about there's a head chef and then there's the sous chefs. So all of the sous chefs underneath are trying to get all of these ingredients together to meet what the head chef has in mind for that plate that has to go out. So it's this sort of, there has to be a thread or a through line or it's all going to be a complete mess. Granted, 6 and 7 might be, but not all of it.
Mess. But not because the head chef keeps changing as well. And not only if you say the writer, if you say, okay, let's say the director is the head chef, everybody gives him their little component and he puts it all together on the plate. So the actors bring their bit and the writers bring that bit and the sound and everybody brings their little bit to the director. And I'm not saying that the director is the head of a shoot or anything. I'm sure it doesn't work like that. But let's for my chef reference here, everybody brings their little bit and the director composes the plate. Well, not only do all the sous chefs, apart from the actors, the sous chefs keep changing, production changes. I don't think sound and set deck and stuff change, but various parts of those keep changing. But also the head chef keeps changing as well. Episode to episode, the head chef changes. It would be impossible to continue a subtle theme like this because it is. If you're not looking for it, you wouldn't see it. There's some very overt themes about Sam and Dean that are carried through the show because they're so obvious. you can't not. But something subtle like this is, I think, would be very difficult to carry consistently as these component parts keep changing.
Because group effort to me is, I guess, like the error aspect of it. Like, again, like if you've got the producers, you know, overseeing like Kripke, again, like I just feel like Kripke had an end game, you know, and I think Kripke had a, I don't know if you want to call it a vibe or whatever for each of the characters. And I think as the baton torch got passed, you know, there might have been sort of like a shift in each of them. But I do agree that like at the end of the day, like each dish in and of its own is a mix of whoever was involved in it. And I think too, like the directing aspect of it is just so very, it hits a lot of the same notes with a lot of different directors, I feel like. And I don't know if that's just because they went to film school and they all like saw this stuff, you know?
No, here's my thought. Here's my thought, right? Name me another show that has 2 male leads and very few female anythings. Never mind leads. Any other show.
The only ones I can think of were, these would be decades ago, nothing current. And those were like cop shows, you know, and there was like
no. Cop shows. But there was always a pretty something, wasn't there? There's always a pretty something, or someone's got a wife. There's always a reoccurring female, usually. So,
well, the only other thing I can think of recently would be like, wasn't there like Sherlock? And then I know everybody talks about Good Omens, Our Flag Means Death, and different things like that. So those are like.
So, okay, let's take Sherlock because I know a little bit about that. And let's say Good Omens because I know a little bit about that. So my thought, this is older still, but not older like old cop shows, but like it's older than Supernatural. So the Lord of the Rings movies, there are 3 female characters that get named in the entire trilogy. 3, that's it, right? It's a guy's movie. But when you look at the cast and the characters that they play, it's diverse. You have strong warriors, Aragorn, Boromir. You have soft, willowy men, Legolas. You know, you have the older guiding hand of Gandalf, and you have the hobbits who, by their very nature of the characterization of them, are softer. They are not held to the same level of masculinity as, say, Aragorn and Boromir, you know? Again with Good Omens, yes, it's a 2 Crowley and I never know how to pronounce the angel, Michael Sheen. I know who he is. I just don't know how to pronounce his name. Is there a
it starts with an A. Yeah.
There's a Z and a PH in that. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
But if you look at that, one of them is characterized as good and one of them is characterized as bad. So you can make Michael Sheen's character softer without taking anything away from him. You know, you can just go, one of them is an angel and one of them is a demon. So by very nature of how that kind of mythology is perceived, you can go, okay, well, angels are softer, they're sweeter, they do good things. And demons are harder and crueler and they do bad things. And that is not how the plot of Good Omens goes. So again, yeah, you've got these 2 male leads, but character-wise, they are very different. And that's before you get into like the build of the actors and things like that. Like character-wise, they're just different. Same with Lord of the Rings. Yes, you have this like this ensemble cast of 9 guys, but they're not 9 beefheads or not 9 elves. Or, you know what I mean? The Hobbit, again, I think maybe they had like 1 female character. No, they had more than 1 because they had some kids. Bard's kids. Bard had 2 daughters and they got names. So maybe around 3. Again, like fucking Tolkien was not great at female characters, is all I'm saying. Like, there wasn't a lot of them. And I'm gonna be honest, like Jackson invented one of the ones in The Hobbit. Like, she's not in the book. She's a pure Jackson. It's irrelevant. I don't like that character, but it's irrelevant. It's relevant. That's a more interesting look because we had 13 dwarfs. I lost a dwarf somewhere there. I don't know which one it was, but I lost one. So, yes, 12 dwarves. No, 13 dwarves. Fuck me. 13 dwarves. No. No, it must be 13, and Bilbo makes 14. It must be. Somebody correct me if I'm getting my Hobbit lore wrong. They're all of the same race, so you would think that would be kind of difficult. What do you do with them? You basically just have one main character if you don't do something with them. So, I don't know, Sandra's watched The Hobbit or whatever, but all the same with the Fellowship. Yes, it's all the same race, but they're very different. Like Ori, the little scrat, he wears knitted gloves, guys, and a little hat. And he's soft and sweet, and he's young, and he's the baby, and they look after him. Against Dwalin, who's this fucking hulk of a machine of a dwarf, who's a warrior. God, I love Graham McTavish. Good lord. It's an absolute fucking legend of a man. But again, they characterize them differently because they were from a society where you have warriors and scribes and craftsmen and things like that. So they had that ability. They could make these characters different and make some of them a little bit softer, some of them a little bit harder. They could make it so it didn't just look like they had one main character, is my point.
Okay.
Pulling that all the way back to Supernatural, what do? You've got two lead men who come from exactly the same background, have exactly the same knowledge, and do exactly the same job. You have to do something with one of them, otherwise you might as well just have one lead. One of them has to be different, otherwise why do you have two? Now, an argument could be made that Sam should be the one to be different because Sam got out of the life and had a period of time in Stanford and would be maybe softer because he had that breakaway, whereas Dean had kept hunting the whole time, and Dean's older, so he has like 4 extra years of hunting on Sam, whatever. Now, in theory, that makes great sense until you look at the casting choices. Jared's almost 6'5" and built like a fucking brick shithouse. You're going to make him soft? How are you going to make him soft? How do you characterize an actor that looks like that, sounds like that, acts like that? How you characterize him as the female other? You can't. You literally cannot do that. And I suppose there's probably, if we're looking back at Kripke, it was always Sam's story to Kripke. So even if there is some magical director out there that can tap into Jared's magical acting powers and make him appear smaller and more delicate, it's still in Kripke's mind Sam's story. So we have 5 seasons of established Sam's story. Whoever comes in after Kripke, Gamble, I think, she can't then come in and go, right, we're changing all this up. It's established canon at that point. So where does that leave you? You have to differentiate between them.
So how do you not feel that that's not a concerted effort? Like at some point, like it's a group effort though, right? Like is it a group effort? Like if it's a Kripke.
No. When I say it's not a group effort, I mean at no point did anybody sit down and go, this is how it's going to be done. And everybody stuck to that line. I think it probably evolved from Kripke. And everyone just kind of, because everyone does it a little bit differently. You'll see directors that are really, like, honestly gross. Like, you know my feelings on Red Sky Morning. Like, I have so much issues with the whole Sam Gertrude thing. But the don't objectify me scene with Dean in the tux, like, it's funny, he makes a joke, haha. But it's objectively gross. Like, he is, and it would be gross if he was a woman as well. Like, This is not like it'd be fine if it was a woman. Like, this is not a sexist thing. It would be equally disgusting if it was a woman. But, like, look at how he's treated in that. They dress him up all cute, and Bella's like, oh my God, you're so cute. We should have hate sex after this. Like,
well, I do have some thoughts about just the way the scene, because, like, again, like stuff that's referenced. I do get that it's, I think in that way too, there's a lot of callbacks to shining up a dirty penny kind of a situation. Like I've seen a lot of scenes
like My Fair
films.
Lady.
Yeah, they
Ugh.
talk about My Fair
Yeah.
Lady, but again, like any of the teen movies where, you know, there's the girl with the glasses, but then you put on a nice dress and she's walking down the
Ugh.
steps and they do the reveal. It's that kind of a
It's
vibe,
it.
you know.
Like the fucking which is so cliche. Like the moment in Miss Congeniality where they put her in all the hair and makeup. She's like this cool badass cop, and then she comes out in a dress. And the funniest fucking thing about that whole thing is that she falls over.
Yeah.
Like that's so great, you know?
It's that kind of vibe. So I mean, I do understand. I definitely get what you're saying. I do think that making them different was important. And I think a lot of that too is the storyline that I've got to think Kripke was building in his head, not particularly the way it ended up turning out, but even in season 1, when you started talking about, you know, learning that Sam had these powers, things started changing about him, making them sort of like, and it's transition throughout, the good versus evil, you know, basically that's basically what they're being forced to do. So I can see where, you know, that would then turn Dean into sort of like, if you're talking about good omens, you know, you've got angel, demon. I mean, basically that's what Supernatural turns into by season 4. You know, you're learning that the boys have supposedly fated roles, and they're, you know, on two sides, you know, they're going to be factioned out if they don't do something else to stop that. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it could be a combination of both, but I also think that it's just very interesting in terms of, to me, there had to be some sort of through line, even if it's by producer. Granted, some stuff just went off the rails towards the end too. And I don't think that you don't see that storyline as well. It's much more muddled, I feel like, in terms of how it's displayed.
My point was not that there wasn't a through line, not that there wasn't some kind of, you know, unspoken rule maybe. My point was maybe more that it wasn't a deliberate choice. It was a producer, a director looking at these two leads and going, fuck, we have to distinguish them in some way, otherwise they're the same thing. And I mean, what I'm about to say is kind of, it sounds offensive, but it's not meant offensive in any way. Jensen is smaller than Jared. He is physically a smaller human than Jared by 3 inches. Like it's right there. It's on the internet. He is shorter than Jared. They have different body types, and I will die on this hill. It's not that Jensen isn't as built as Jared or anything. They have different fucking body types. If Jensen lost the amount of weight he would need to lose to make him look as toned and ripped as Jared, he would be ill. They have different body types. But there is always a comparison. Oh, Jared's way more built than Jensen. Jared's way more effort in. Jared's way more beefy than Jensen. Well, no, I wouldn't want to take a punch from either of them, really. You know? But when so not to be offensive, but Jensen is smaller in height, but also not so much in the first few seasons, but it becomes more apparent as Jared grows up and fully fills out. A little bit smaller in stature as well. And again, different body types, not fucking body shaming Jensen in any way. And then I think the real kicker here is, can we just look at 2005 Jensen Ackles, please? He's 26, 27, and you would never be wrong in calling him a twink. His beautiful, delicate features in his face, you know? And that's a difficult stance to take because Jared was much younger and also had quite delicate features. And this comparison does not stand today in 2024 because they are both now in their 40s. They've grown into their man faces, let's say. You know, you would not. I don't think you could look at Jared and Jensen now and say Jensen is objectively more feminine than Jared. I just don't think you could. I don't. They're both very masculine in the face. But in 2005, Jensen was still really, you know, like delicate feminine features. He hadn't grown into his dad voice yet. Still a little baby. Even though he was closer to 30 than Jared was, still a baby, you know, with that fucking jawline and the lips and the eyes. Fucking face, man. So if you take all that into consideration, we're looking at the Kripke era, it's Kripke's story. He's earmarked this story as Sam's story. Jared is taller than Jensen, wider than Jensen, like in the shoulders, there's no way to say it without sounding really offensive to Jensen. Built more. He has wider shoulders and a broader chest than Jensen. This is objective. I don't think it's difficult then to see the decision as a director, a producer, to go, well, let's feminize Dean just a little bit. Let's just feminize him just a little bit. Let's shoot his angles just a little bit differently, so there's a distinction drawn between them. Mm-hmm. And as we get into later seasons, it becomes a running joke that Dean's masculinity is a front. But he's secretly, chick flick moments, and that it's all a front, and he's hiding something.
Yeah, and I definitely think that you don't see that as much. Or if you do, I think it's very it's made for a gag. Whereas I think in a lot of the decisions, and again, things that we'll talk about, it's just a part of the overall cinematography, the feel of a scene or something like that is different. It's not just made for a joke. I just feel like they're much more reveal, linger, I think they linger longer. And again, I've watched a lot of movies growing up. It was just a thing. And I would watch a lot of older films. And I just remember the black and whites and how, you'd get the introduction of the female or the femme fatale and it was just very it was this grand, just sweeping, just you'd get again, and the holds on the characters were much different. And I think that's kind of obvious in a lot of the stuff that they do. And again, it's not because it's not just one director. To me, it's it's either just something they're taught in film school and they're just leaning into the fact of, here's this gorgeous person. Let's kind of focus in on that other aspect of him being very different, like you said, from Sam. If Sam is the lead, is the man, is the subject, then that's the counter to it. And so maybe that's why a lot of those shots happen the way they do. But let's get into some of the cinematography stuff that I think they're talking about. I think we're both leaning in the same direction.
Just before we do though, if anybody has gone to film school, knows anything about direction, just let me know if this is a thing that you are taught. I want to know genuinely if this is
or studied, when you're
studying, if you have knowledge of this.
Yeah.
Because obviously the male and female lead is so iconic and traditional. It's everywhere, isn't it? Most things have. So is it is this something that you're taught to distinguish between your leads? Or is this just a result of people who went to film school, however long ago, and they know no other way to distinguish? Mm-hmm. Because like I said, if you look at The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, I don't know enough about Sherlock to talk about it, but I feel there's definitely some differences between Sherlock and John in that movie. I really should watch that because I'm a huge Martin Freeman fan. But whatever. But Good Omens. These are different. The different species, races. There's differences between the characters, and you come to Supernatural and you've got two almost identical leads. Is it just that they knew no other way to distinguish the characters? So you could just with one camera angle, you could know who's walking in a door, for example. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you have the inside knowledge on how all this shit works, please come talk to us. Pretty please. We want to know. We want to learn. Because I don't like saying everyone who works at Supernatural is misogynistic as fuck. Because that's not true. But really, no one could think of any other way to distinguish these two. And I'm sitting here saying that, being a massive hypocrite, going, I don't know how to distinguish them. I know no way to distinguish these almost identical. I mean, it's very easy to do in writing and literature.
But I think you're really hitting. I think you really hit on the theme of it too. Is just the aspect of making Dean softer. I think is a really And again, like it just probably turned into this other aspect, you know? And again, like misogynistic tendencies aside, like how much of that is ingrained in us, you know, and then you see it. And if you've seen it enough times in your brain, subconsciously,
you look for it as well.
You're going to make that connection, whether you realize it at the time or not, until you go back and really look at it, which again is really great about this article. So I feel like this article was probably written like 8 or 9 years ago, but it's just really good. I just really loved it.
It's what does it say? Something about spoilers up to
12:9.
12:9. So, you know, it didn't,
12,
it didn't, you know, like there was a fair bit of supernatural that came after that article was made, but also I think it still stands.
Yeah.
I do think it, but again, I'm still, Sandra's desperate to move on to the sex scene. Sandra's like, Jesus fuck, her gifts and everything, guys. But I do think as well, maybe just to give Kripke some of his dignity back. Sorry, Kripke. Sorry, Eric. You did great stuff with the boys, though. You clearly you know what you're doing when you have defined male and female roles. It's only when you don't that you get confused.
Yeah, I don't see this as a hit on Kripke at all, like this discussion, because I really do think that he's probably gotten. I mean, I feel like he's talked about Neil Gaiman, who's like the Good Omens dude. Like, I feel like he's gotten all of these sort of like, again, vibes, feels, stuff he's read, stuff that's like gone through his system, that this is what happens. Like, nothing's a new idea anymore. So I think it's just reinterpretation of it. Again, like, it doesn't necessarily make it wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't think so. Now, if you're called out on it and then you're like, oh, okay, I guess that was a thing, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Then, I mean, we could talk about The Boys, you know, and see how Supernatural, I feel, influenced a lot of The Boys. And then you could get all over.
No, let's not, because I'm thinking of the opening scene. I'm thinking of the opening scene of The Boys and thinking, well, that establishes a whole fucking lot about it.
Yeah.
So let's not get into that.
Let's not do that. Okay.
But we give Kripke grace for The Boys because he was taking from an established story. The Boys was a comic a long time before Kripke got hold of it. Albeit the first couple of seasons of The Boys are like a prequel to the comic, but he still had established characters to work with.
Yeah.
He was limited in how much he could change those characters. So we would give Kripke grace on the misogyny that exists in The Boys. But going back to what we were saying about different characterizations, I'm thinking as well about the kind of not the parallels, but like the way The Boys are characterized. So Dean is always ribbing on Sam about his hair and his sex life and like how soft he is. So how do you offset that? Okay, we know they're both badass hunters. You can't be like, oh, Dean's so mean to Sam, but Sam kicks ass and like with vampires. Like, Dean also kicks ass. You can't do it. So again, where do you, oh my God, what is the fucking word? Disprove. Disprove. The word I wanted was rogue. It wasn't. It was disprove. That's an inside joke between me and my family. Where do you disprove those accusations? In the bedroom. If Sam truly was this soft, delicate flower that Dean keeps making him out to be, he'd be a soft, delicate flower in the bedroom, but he isn't.
You're totally jumping ahead.
He fucks. I'm leading you in. He fucks. Right? So we disprove Dean's accusations. On the other side, Sam says, well, no, Dean proves Sam's accusation. Sam's like, oh my God, you're such a front, you're such an asshole. And if these were true things, Dean would also fuck. You know, if he was truly like this gross, disgusting, misogynistic pig that Sam keeps naming him as, he would also fuck. But Dean does not fuck. Dean makes love. Now you may lead into your sex things. I had to get that out of my brain.
Well,
I'm real sorry.
I wasn't going to do the sex things. I was going to go through like the different aspects of the cinematography, but that's okay. We could do the sexy.
Oh, damn. Damn. All right. Carry on.
No, the only thing I was going to talk about, again, maybe we won't even go into the article in depth. We'll just leave it as a discussion. I'll just mention that there's certain like aspects of cinematography that Frozen Delight talks about, and there's a bunch of beautiful GIFs that you can look at to talk about it.
It's a
I'm
GIF.
I'm going to say it the way I want to.
Die.
You can die on the hill. I'm good.
It's a GIF.
So
it starts the graphic.
So there's feet first camera pan, and they talk about, okay, again, like Sam and Dean are both very handsome guys, and the guys behind the camera clearly love to dwell on that. Both get their fair share of objectification. However, it's primarily Dean who's treated to the camera moving from his feet to his head, shamelessly crawling over every inch of his body, a typical technique of female objectification. So they talk about...
I'm a jump in right there.
Go ahead.
As a Sam mortal, they do not both get their fair share of objectification.
I don't think they do a lot of
more
top to bottom with... Yeah. Maybe because it would take too long.
Get more film. We got to film parts from the feet up. No, there is significantly more objectification of Dean. And I know because I'm looking for it with Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, yes, Sam is the one that is more blatantly objectified, I would say. Thinking back to season 1, Sam is the one that has to come out of the bathroom in the towel because the fans wanted more skin.
Mm-hmm.
By Christ, I love the third man, but that is nothing other than... Like, I can't even...
The way that scene is filmed, I do think it's interesting because they do hold on, like, body parts, I feel like, first before you get the whole boom. Like, I think you get a little bit of, like...
You get, like, his back and his head.
So, I mean, that's definitely an objectified moment, but where it's... Again, it's different the way that it's filmed because it's like boom, 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 where with Dean, I think a lot of times you get a sort of, here's a slow, like, let's just linger. Where I think with that scene, it's very much just like here, boom, boom, boom. And then you get wham, like, all of that, just like, right there. Like, like,
well, that wasn't my point.
Well, but that's my point.
I wasn't done with my point.
I'm allowed to have points too and interject.
No points for you. No points for you. I wasn't done with my point. I agree with all of Sandra's points on my point. I've said the word point so many times now, it's become nonsense in my mind. No, I agree. My point was that there was...
Can you tell we're punchy today? We're both very punchy today.
We're not having it. It's not a good day. It's not a good day. There is no real reason for Sam to be working out naked on camera like that. And also, who works out in jeans and a belt? Literally nobody. Even Jared doesn't work out in jeans and a belt. He works out in sweats. That's irrelevant, right?
Soulless Sam does.
Soulless Sam. And I mean, you could kind of... I think the point that they were trying to make is that because he doesn't sleep, he's working out like a beast. He's in the best shape of his life.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not the point that is made because he's paying a sex worker at the end of that montage.
Mm-hmm.
The point is not, look how much soulless Sam is like fucking honing in on his body. It's drool over this man. Look how fucking hot he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, very similar to season 1, with Sam being the one to come out of the bathroom shirtless. Sam is also the one to be doing like laundry shirtless in season 15. There's no good reason for that. There's no like, he doesn't not have any shirts. He's just folding laundry. He's just shaking towels out, folding laundry.
No,
and again,
wait,
what?
When he comes, he's coming out from a shower.
So?
No, you were talking about laundry. When he's in the laundry room, he's fully clothed. He's reading a book and he's by the washer.
What is he doing? What is he doing when he's topless and it's great? And he's coming something and like his whole chest moves and it's the greatest thing ever.
I think it's something having to do with the bed. So I think he's like out of the shower and I think he's just like, maybe it's a shirt or something that maybe he's getting ready to wear or something like that.
Okay, so how many times have we seen Sam and Dean come out of a bathroom fully clothed? It's not necessary. It's not, there's nothing, there's no plot behind it. Like I said, you could make, like, the fandom has drawn, and once you, like, put your jaw back and wipe up the drool, you could go, oh my God, Solus is really working Sam's body because he doesn't sleep. But it's not your go-to. It's not your, like, this is clearly a plot point. You're like, oh my God, look at the fucking abs. Right? But season 1 and season 15 bookend quite nicely. Sam's objectified and made to be semi-naked for no plot reason other than just to show skin. And I'm thinking about all the times you see Dean naked. Now, I will give a pass to the shapeshifter episode in season 1 because, again,
that was necessary in that scene, I think. Like, they had to show what was happening. Yeah.
It was. But also, we are aware that the bathroom scene or the shower scene with Sam and that is because the fans were calling for more skin. They wanted to see more of the boys. So we'll give that a pass. Think about all the other times we see Dean naked. He's either fucking or he's having some kind of crisis. We see him in the shower when he's having breakdowns. We see him with his shirt off. I'm specifically thinking of the Slice Girls. He's fucking. Where else do we see him other than situations it would be normal for him to be unclothed?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, in very traditional terms, Sam is objectified, traditionally objectified, as in the token hot guy, more than Dean, I would say. That was my whole point. That was my whole point, that they are not equally
objectified differently.
They are not equally objectified because,
which
first of all, there are
is the point of the post. So
there are way more sex scenes with Dean. There are when did we get a scene of Sam in the shower? Literally fucking never.
No, we just get him out of the shower. But the interesting thing about,
apart from season 1
in 15, I think the only other thing that I find interesting about a lot of Dean's bathroom scenes, I feel like there's the one where he's in the shower. I distinctly remember it's like,
his lashes are all clumped. He's having some kind of crisis, and he like runs his hands over his phone. His lashes all clumped together, and he's freckly. Y'all know which one we mean.
Which is so interesting because, again, that one scene, you don't really see anything of him except for face, shoulders. That's it. And yet, it
lingers.
It makes your brain go blank because you know the connotation. So I feel like it's almost like it's a different reveal, or like he gets hidden more, almost like, you know how they like to do like the way back when they used to do the fangirls, like when they would be on stage and they'd have these huge fans and they would just kind of like, you'd get the illusion that you'd be seeing something, but you never really see a lot, you know, you get that. And I think that's the whole point of what they're doing with him as a character, like on screen, like they're leading into that a lot.
Very feminine, like that exact pose of the
like
girl,
the flirtiness
in the shower.
Like you don't get flirty from. I don't think you get flirty from Sam. And I think there's
as we've established, as we've established, Sam Winchester fucks. We've established this. No, actually, thinking about that shower scene now, you've seen that pose, that scene in 100 different movies, but it's always a woman, where it's just the camera goes out of focus at the shoulders, and you know there's bare skin underneath, but it's completely fuzzy and out of focus, and it's just like the shoulders and the collarbone, the neck and the face, and the hair's swept back because it's wet, and there's like droplets on the face. You've seen that in 100 different movies, just not with a guy.
Yeah.
And that does directly tie. Sandra can't see my screen right now, and the first gif is the pan up Dean's body when he's laying on the bed. So it's like blankets, calf, knee, thigh, boxers, ass, and then goes up to, and again, like I'm preaching to the choir here, that is the whole point of the post, but you've seen that camera pan 1,000 times, 100 times, just usually with women, and they're like, oh, look at the curves, look, it's fully clothed, there's nothing scandalous here, but just imagine the curves, you know. And I mean, Jensen Ackles has an incredible ass, and the world is grateful that he shares it with us, you know. But like so many things, when you look at it again, you're like, oh, nuts, that's offensive.
I think the other scene that they were talking about camera panning was, you know, Red Sky at Morning, the Don't Objectify Me. Again, we talked about it a little bit, where he's coming down the steps and he's in the tux. And again, the post even suggests, you know, Audrey Hepburn presenting her ball gown in My Fair Lady. And again, there's so many different movies that do this, where it's Ugly Duckling into Beautiful Swan. And you only typically get that with a female character. I mean, most of the movies I've seen, I'm sure there are some out there, but more rarely it's a guy. And so this was an example of, them using Dean in that position, I guess you'd say. They used a fun one, which is it's just a fun after school special. And again, I think this leans into the fact that they like to put Dean in a lot of outfits, uniforms, quote unquote. Like you see Sam with Dean usually like dressed up. You know what I mean? I don't think you see, I'm thinking there's like that season 14 episode where he's like, Sam gets brainwashed and he's playing somebody's husband. And so there's like, he's without Dean. Again, I know we don't even want to go there, but not even, by himself. I don't think you see that as much as, and again, I know Sam was like a janitor in this, but I mean, they put him in shorts as the gym teacher in after school special. It was a whole thing. And again,
shirts tucked in. It
was feet to top, and it was that same sort of like panning where you get to really like revel in the outfit situation. And then they talk about the Just My Imagination episode with Sully, where, you've got another one where it's Dean coming out of Baby dressed in like, the cardigan and the whole thing. And again, Sam is dressed up too, but for some reason the camera is, we're going to show Dean getting out of the car situation. Okay.
I'm sure Sandra was going to touch on this, but I want to make this clear, right? The Tumblr post also makes this point that it has been referenced by J2 that Jared is actually too big for Baby. He's too big for the car. And then this whole last show tried to believe he could hide in the fucking footwell in the backseat. Like, guys, please. So I don't necessarily think that is a conscious decision to portray Dean like that, but also nobody wants to see Jared all knees and elbows out the fucking car.
Well, I think
in the car,
No, that definitely goes into your. We've all, I think we've talked a little bit too, like about the way certain scenes have to be filmed because Jared is so much taller than a lot of his other, the actors he's working with. So there's a lot of people talk about how I've heard a lot of male actors talk about like, if you're over a certain height, you're just not going to get the role, or you're not going to get this, or you're not going to get that, because people are immediately, again, objectifying you as to how you're going to appear on camera. But it's like all the ways this is going to make it a hindrance, or we're going to have to do this, or how are we going to work around that? So just imagine being an actor, first of all, in any actor, actress, in any shape or form, where you're literally just objectified. You go in and people are like, well, that'll work, that won't. I mean, it's a very
here's an interesting example of that from the other side. Gwendolyn Christie, who played Brienne of Tarth, is very famous for saying that one of her more recent roles, it was either Wednesday or Sandman, I can't remember which it was, that she'd never like felt pretty on camera before because she's always cast as this masculine, tomboy is not the right word, but she's always masculinized, which is not a word.
Other. It's from what
she's othered. Yeah, because she's so tall.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's a beautiful woman, and I think that's fucking tragic that she's so, because she's not like in her 20s, Gwendolyn Christie. She's like, I don't know, I want to say like in her 40s, maybe 30s.
Yeah,
but she's not a baby. She's not new on the scene. She's got a fair amount of acting under her belt, and for her to be that far into her career saying, I've never felt pretty on camera, I've never been allowed to be pretty in my characters just because she's tall, is objectively disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Contrary to that, though, just as a funny little quip that my brain coughed up, I wonder if that's why we never see Sam in the shower, because normal motel showers don't fit Jared, and they didn't want to change them.
God, it could be so many things too. Like I think at the end of the day,
how would you film him?
Yeah,
and still keep his dignity even. Yeah.
But I mean, so the post does go on to say that, as we're talking about that one scene of him, Dean getting out of the car, like it doesn't matter if the producers decided right from the start that they wanted to visually code Dean as feminine, or if Jared's size decided that for them, the result is the same. The cinematography of the show deconstructs Dean's masculinity right from the start. And this is what you were hitting on. Whereas Sam's masculinity is often reinforced. Again, I think we see that from that one particular scene in The Third Man. Like, it's just masculinity, just like
in your face,
thrown all over the place. Like boom, boom, boom,
sweaty.
boom, boom.
He's
Yeah.
oiled. He's tanned.
The
His
sex worker
arms.
is just like, oh no, why would I want to take money from
Yeah.
after that?
Oh
Like, it's that
no,
kind of a thing.
carry on, carry on working out. Oh no.
And they'll just call me.
Yeah, like, oh, I feel bad taking your money. Like, all right, I am only one single human mortal, okay? And I have to pick my jar up every time after that scene and wipe the drool every fucking time. He's an attractive man. He ticks all the right boxes for me. His Adonis belt should be cast in marble, people. Someone sculpt that. We cannot let that be lost to time. Jesus. If we can have Michelangelo's David, we can have fucking somebody's Jared. Somebody do that. But I fully can see it for the whole, like, the absolute bat in the face of look how masculine he is.
Yeah.
Look what he's doing compared, because it's a back and forth between him and Dean, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jared's doing stretches. Dean's waking up in the Sam's doing stretches. Dean's waking up in the car.
It's not just that. The way it starts out is, and again, like, they do this on purpose. Like, it's Dean having a dream about being in bed with Lisa. And it's so very soft. And then he wakes up in the car, and then it's boom, we get the Sam scene with the sex worker. And
yeah,
it's just night and day. It's very filtery when Dean's in bed. There's no, like, you don't really see, there's kissing, there's touching, but there's like, you don't see all of it the way that you just get Sam on a plate, situation. So again,
yeah,
it's just so very interesting. Like, I mean, and again, like, that was a season 6 episode. So that was Gamble, and again, it's, I'm looking it up real quick because I want to see who directed that one.
Oh, I Googled it while Sandra's looking up.
Robert Singer.
Gwendolyn Christie's 45. So,
okay. Yeah. So third man is Robert Singer, which is interesting because he directed Phantom Traveler, which was the scene of Dean in bed. So again, there's like, and he's an old school director. So again, I wonder how much of that is
how it's done.
Yeah. Okay. So the second thing that this post references, they get into the sex scenes. And this is where I think Kasey and I were talking about the parallels between, like what they're giving of one character versus what they're showing of another. And the post starts out with the line from Rock in a Hard Place that Dean is talking about when he's in Chastity.
Yeah. I'd scroll down a little bit because this Tumblr author puts it so much better than I did. I was like, Sam fucks, Dean makes love. They put it much better than I did. Sam touches, Dean is touched. And I, unfortunately, will have nothing further to contribute to this debate because the following gifs are Sam in bed with Madison and his hand is in her hair and his hand is like the size of her entire head. And then much, much better than that, Sam and Ruby, where she's on his lap and Sam is making the face of pain while he's like pulling on her hair. And I have nothing of anything to contribute to this fucking discussion now. I will be in these gifts for quite some time.
Okay, so I'm gonna reread that.
I'm gonna. Oh, dicks! I scrolled down and there was more Sam fucking, and then there was Dean fucking. Hang on, let me find some. Oh god, there's so much Dean fucking. Let me find some text. Jesus.
So I'm gonna read I
gotta find a new tab. I'm in a new tab completely. There's so much fucking. It was great.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day. The line from Rock in a Hard Place. So this is what Dean is saying when they're in their chastity meeting. So there's the touching and the feeling all of each other. My hands everywhere, tracing every inch of her body, the two of us moving together, pressing and pulling, grinding. Then you hit that sweet spot and everything just builds and builds and builds until it all just. So
the Sandra that started this podcast with me in 2021 would not have been able to read that. And I'm so proud.
The difference, and this is from the post, the difference between how Dean describes having sex and how we actually see him have sex is striking. The picture Dean paints is the traditional male gaze at its finest. Male hands moving over a female body, a man acting, a woman reacting. That's completely flipped on its head with every scene, I think, we see of Dean in bed having sex, making love, all those things. And then they talk about, I don't know, they start getting into Freud. We're not going to get into Freud. We did that once. But that, they go, everyone who watches SPN has noticed at some point or other that Sam and Dean favor strikingly different styles in bed. Sam is incredibly aggressive, tearing at his partner's hair, tossing them into the wall, whereas Dean is the incarnation of everything that is sweet and tender. Any aggressive moments. Go ahead.
Can we enjoy this fucking moment before you keep reading? God. Just let that sit for a minute. All right. Some of us are Sam moths.
Okay. Yes, please. Take your moment. Take your moment. Do you have anything to add to it?
Actually, I was thinking about all the times I've written Sam fucking and trying to tell myself, no, you subvert that trope. And I'm trying to think of one fucking time where Sam has not taken over in some way the sex scene and there has not been hair pulling or like a little bit of roughness. And I
also think that if
I've written one
ever seen him with Eileen, maybe it would have been different, but I don't think they would have ever. Again, that's later in the seasons, but I feel like at that point,
you don't change the style of which you fuck just because you love somebody.
No, I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about, I think that you're just like hitting it today with the,
I'm so sorry.
I think with the partners, I don't think you can necessarily say that it's a cookie cutter style with each person. If you've had, a lot of partners, the style is different based on who you're with. Like you have those discussions, you have that communication. Sometimes you don't have communication and it's all just visceral. You're acting out something. But I think that with a, say, friendship turned romantic sexual relationship, I feel there might be something. I mean, Eileen could be all about wanting to dominate in certain situations and Sam having to be flipped. You wouldn't know because we weren't given a chance to, experience that relationship. But I do think that someone's style in bed, we talk about that, I think, with Dean, like it can change for everybody. Some people are very much, this is what I like to do. And this is what we
call those people selfish. We call those people selfish. Yeah, no, I jumped on your throat then and I'm sorry. I didn't mean that, because you are right that while
we never saw him with Jessica either.
Yeah, Sam likes to be in charge in the bedroom, and you can very much be in charge and still be loving and attentive to your partner, as opposed to, I think a lot of the times we see Sam have sex, it is like a frustration outlet.
Mm-hmm.
He never seems to fuck people because he wants to fuck them. He fucks them because
or it's like it's just build up to this really like amazing, like the tension is so high. I feel like in Heart, like it was like they were finally alone. Yeah.
There was a lot of tension building, but I think there was also pressure on Sam. This was the first person he'd been with since Jessica. So there's probably pressure to bring your A game there.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess someone of Sam's size and stature, their A game is probably, God will toss you around this fucking bedroom.
Mm-hmm. The same
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he's good in bed. I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just saying, if you are almost 6'5" and over 200 pounds, break a leg. Literally send me to the ER. It's fine. Like as long as everyone gets off first, we're all good. Break something. It's cool. I want to have bruises.
I don't know if you want to like do the contrast by partners here or not, but after like there's the mention of Sam touches, Dean is touched, but then there's the Sam tops, Dean bottoms. And that's in terms of, where like just their literal position, like in bed. You know what I mean? Like that kind of a situation.
So looking at Kasey.
This is where I'm going to stop for a little bit. You start talking.
Why? Why do I have to start talking?
Because now I'm looking at the Dean GIFs.
Oh, right. You said that like that on purpose. It's a GIF. It stands for graphic. G. But like, this is when we meet in person, I'm going to fucking staple this to her forehead. I'm going to come with Post-it notes, right? And like,
Post-it notes are fine. Just don't do anything permanent, please. It's
no, because what I'm going to do, because I'm going to assume that at some point I will be in your house, even if I'm not staying with you, even if I'm staying in a hotel, I'm going to assume at some point I will be in your house, and I'm going to leave fucking post-it notes that say "GIF," and the G is going to be like hard written, and then I'm going to be like graphical, whatever the fuck it is. It stands for graphical something, and I'm just going to leave post-it notes everywhere behind your doors.
Format, I think.
There you go, behind your doors, behind your pictures, on the bathroom mirror,
okay, like fine.
Everywhere. I'll have been gone 6 months, and you could be like, I found another fucking post-it note.
It's like when I stay over at somebody's house and take a shower, I'm like, sorry, you're going to find my hairs for years.
I will never leave. I live here now.
My DNA is all over the place. Leviathans would love me. It would be so simple. Simple to copy me. No, I'm looking now. I'm looking at Dean with Kasey and Dean with Anna, and I just can't. So but again, they're so soft. But Cassie's is more aggressive, and Cassie's taking the lead with Dean.
It is worth mentioning though, while we are analyzing these scenes, that Cassie's scene was a fuck you to the network, not necessarily a representation of how Dean fucks. But also, I think it's interesting. They both have that. Dean's one good thrust. Dean's one good minute where like his whole back goes, and you're like, they're both in there. I don't think we saw enough of him fucking Lisa to see that.
No, and that was probably a conscious choice because people would be so irritated.
People are done with it. People were mad by that point. But if you look at, we have Kasey, she's physically on top of Dean, whereas Madison, I mean, they're kind of like on their side, but Sam is very loomy, shall we say. There's a lot of Sam up in her business, which is not entirely Sam's fault because there's a lot of Sam everywhere. So, he doesn't have to be very much in someone's business before there's a lot of him in someone's business, is my point.
Yeah.
So Kasey and Madison, they're both kind of, Kasey was a fuck you to the network, but they're, they are very, Sam touches, Dean is touched. And I'm sorry, I've completely lost any hope of a train of thought that I had because I'm not looking at the gif of Sam and Madison, but I can see it in my head.
Yeah. And they're also then talking about how, like, when you move beyond the gloriousness of, I'm sorry, Dean and Anna in the backseat, it's just like, okay. Sam's scenes highlight his broad shoulders and muscular arms. Dean's scenes frequently focus on his, open mouth. Again, interesting because like if you see the scene with Sam and Ruby, you've got Ruby's mouth just open and just like, like experiencing all the stuff. And then you see Dean doing the exact same thing, like what's being put upon him and what he's experiencing and focusing on his reaction.
We actually, I'm trying to think now. We very rarely seem to see Dean's sexual partners' faces at all, really. Or like not in detail, like Ruby or Madison, for example.
Yeah, like the reaction to it. Like, I think Anna might be one of the few, because, her being like, I guess her first time and stuff like that. And so I think you get more of her, I think, in any of the scenes, like really where she becomes like the focus. But again, like they even make a point of saying that in that scene, the focus is more on Anna's hands on Dean. And again, like her touching, the scar and like all those different things on him and experiencing him and investigating almost in a way where, it's just different with Sam's scenes it's all about the masculine energy. I feel like it's very, very obvious. And then I think the other thing is just finally when Sam's scenes emphasize how petite his partners are by comparison. Just look at those gigantic hands. In Dean's sex scenes, we often have shots in which his partners are made to look taller again, because usually they're on top, so it's like they're over him. They're, I don't know, is subjugating a good word? Like they're kind of just like,
I don't think subjugating is dominating might be the right word.
Yeah.
Taking like synonyms that are less extreme than dominating. Taking charge. being in control, leading the scene, maybe. I don't think, well, there's some religious metaphor to be drawn here, I think, in terms of religious items that one uses to worship but are not strictly part of the worship. Can't think of one off the top of my head. But so Dean's used but not worshipped, shall we say.
Yeah.
Does that, like, are you following my really clumsy metaphor here?
I'm following you, even though I would be totally like, yes, worship.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Dean as a character that we have control of, we characterize him very differently, especially when it comes to sex and romance and love, than the show does, because my various, all right, junkies notwithstanding, actually, no, all of my Deans are subs. Oh my god, I've written one. No, he's the submissive one and not two. Oh god. Oh my god, I'm a walking cliche. All right, Sandra has written shitloads of Dean where he's the one taking control, where he is the one that is in control. No, I've written.
I don't even know if I could say like how many of him. It's like, really like, yeah, there's a couple, but I just feel like it's more about the reader exploring him too. It's weird. It's like, I just don't like, I get that people like to see him or put him in sort of like a dominant position. And I don't always get that unless it's like you're willingly involving him in some sort of role play. You know what I mean? It's just,
oh no, I don't mean like a dominant position. I don't mean like I've written Sam as a dom before. I don't mean that. But like I said, we have to exclude junkies completely because that's a whole different bag of cats. I mean, like, Dean touches in our works. But then I was thinking about that and I was like, no, he fucking doesn't. He is touched in my works. But there's one where Dean touches, and it's the one I wrote for you. And you were very specific that you were like, no, I would like in control Dean, please. Sandra's preference for Dean is that Dean touches, he is not that he is touched, if we take that metaphor. I wouldn't go quite so far as to say Sandra's Dean fucks, because he still makes love and it's still sweet, but he's more an active participant. He is a part of the worship. He's involved in the worship as opposed to just being an extraneous part of it. Yeah. Like rosary beads, for example. They're not, you can pray without them, and they're not inherent to the actual act of prayer and worship, but they are.
It's like ritual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My metaphor is real fucking clumsy, No,
I get it.
It didn't really line up in terms of Sam, because my brain was like, Sam is the altar. You can't do it without him.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think how we interpret Dean's character, although I do still interpret him as apparently a sub, I still he still touches in my fix. He's not just to be touched.
Yeah. Well, there's the one scene, like the first time I wrote anything with view to a Winchester, it's when it's like after their official like date, and Dean's doing a majority of the exploring of the character. And that, but then there's still the back and forth between them. So it's like, he's not necessarily, it's like he's wanting, again, he wants to know what the character wants, and he's trying to provide that sort of thing. So it's like there's a lot to him that I think different writers like to explore. Well, same with Sam. I mean, it just depends on what your flavor is, of what you really want to hyperfixate on, I think, too, for these characters.
And there's so many different interpretations. Like, I have most of my Samfics, he is taking charge, shall we say. But I fully agree with the concept that Sam is soft and sweet and giving in bed and focused very much on his partner's pleasure because he's soft, sweet, gentle man. You know, I would really love to sit here and go, and I've written him that way, but that would make me a liar.
But I think you have like definitely like the cottage verse and different things like that. I mean, I think there's definitely examples of that too, woven in
there
between.
There is entirely too much choking and breath play in that series.
No, but there's also like I think it's the relationship and like the soft moments that I think are explored with him. You know, that he's again like the touching, like when she's taking care of him, his hair and like, you know, and doing those things and all of that kind of stuff. Like there's moments of that. I don't think you could say that there wouldn't be anything in there that wouldn't be being touched and being sweet.
I think a good example of my not opposing but differing feelings on this would probably be Need, because chapter 1 is a very, very dominant Sam, and then chapter 2 is a very submissive Sam. Like that's the whole point of the series. So yeah, I don't think the show is the show and it's film and it's done. But I don't think any fanfic author takes those characterizations as read. We all, even if we go along with the show a little bit more than we've realized we did, we all have a different approach. So, you know, I'm thinking, Sandra, about your more recent things like Jules and Jingle Bells, for example. I know that's not as recent, but Jules and Jingle Bells. And then what the fuck was it called? Something magic.
Oh, every little thing she does is magic. Yeah.
With the all right, that was kind of my fault. That was kind of my fault because Dean cocked up spectacularly, and all my advice to Sandra is she should whack him. She needs to smack that boy. And this was the one time where I was like, that boy's in a spanking, and she was like, you know what? He fucking has. So Dean plays a more submissive role, and a Dean that is completely separate to Sandra's Sunny Day verse, her most recent thing. Maybe there's her most recent completed thing. There's been a couple of things since then, I think. But Don't Hurry Down the Chimney. He's tied up. Admittedly, he doesn't stay tied up, but that's not the point. He's not tied up. But that's now I'm thinking back on it. That's how a lot of my Dean submissive things go, where he starts off being submissive, but then he takes control of the situation.
It's just so interesting, isn't it? Like I want to get inside our heads and figure out what the fuck's going on.
I can see Sam as a true switch. I think he can be the hard dom top if you need him to be that, but he can also be, you know, the submissive bottom. You know, any which way you like that. And I truly think you could call him, not in terms of sexuality, but like you can take him either way as an author. He's a true switch. You can make him a hard dom top, or you can make him a softer, sweeter, submissive bottom, in quotes. Dean is much harder to categorize because I cannot truthfully say that I can see him either way. So he's not at either end of that extreme. He's almost fully in the middle.
I almost feel like there's I don't know if this makes any sense or not, but I almost feel like when you say switch, I literally think like a switch going off in Sam to being able to go back and forth, where I think with Dean, it's almost like more mercurial, like this sort of like shift in the moment that maybe you don't even catch or you don't realize until like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. Like, this is what's happening. Like, you know, just kind of like goes into it surprise, but not like boom. It's just where I don't know. I kind of feel like that has to do with the personalities that I think we get from the characters too, you know?
Now, this may be slightly controversial.
Oh gosh. Well, we're nothing if not controversial.
We are nothing if not controversial. No, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think Sam Winchester is a selfish lover, because I don't. I truly don't. He wouldn't be my blowbo if he was, because I would be like, oh no. Like, you know, I love Dean Winchester extensively love Dean Winchester, but he is not my blobber because he lies. He is a lying liar pants. And I'm not saying that Sam Winchester doesn't lie, but he lies less. So, that's one of my main hang-ups about Dean, that why he is not equal to Sam as Blorbos is because he lies for no good reason. He lies just to lie. Whereas I think Sam lies when he believes he has cause to lie. But that's irrelevant, right? So I'm not going to stay here and say that I think Sam Winchester is a selfish lover, because I don't. But I think the way to kind of, like, building off what Sandra said and how to characterize them as an author, or even just as a fan, is Sam's approach to sex is what he needs from that moment. If he needs to take control, he will find somebody that will let him take control. If he needs to be controlled, he will find somebody to control him. He finds a partner who can give him what he needs. And he doesn't leave his partners unsatisfied, but the focus is on what Sam needs from the interaction. Whereas I think Dean is focused primarily on what his partner wants, and his needs are secondary. Because when you think about the ways we have written it, Sandra, and the ways you read it so often, Dean will let the other person take what they need from him until they are satisfied, and only then will he take over, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's like the active versus reactive sort of like aspect of it. And I think that, again, it's very different from what you see them say, like, outside of that scenario. So, like, when you see them not in bed or not, intimate, you're seeing the other side of them kind of in a way. And I think that, again, I keep getting active versus reactive going on in my head. It's like, if you were going to put them in there.
Would you consider Dean to be reactive then, and Sam to be active?
I feel Dean is reactive.
Because I would say that's actually quite appropriate to their characters outside of the bedroom, though. Sam is...
But I'm saying in a way that maybe Dean was not willing to present that would be the way that he would be until you actually see it. Again, going back to the post, like the way he's expressing it outside of when he's actually in the moment. You know what I mean? Like when he's in the moment, I think you see it differently.
I suppose then maybe, I mean, Dean in scenes of high stress or high tension, then, because, God, I can't remember what episode it is, but they're both waiting outside somewhere, and Dean's pacing and Sam's leaning against the car, and Sam goes, "You're going to walk in 4, 3, 2," and as he gets to 1, Dean walks in, and Sam just goes and like stands up and follows him. Dean is, in moments where it matters, I suppose, he is reactive. He just does the first thing that comes to his head.
I think it's impulse.
Impulsive. Yeah. Whereas Sam is a little bit more methodical, and he likes to have the information. Yeah. Which again ties into, he goes and finds what will give him what he needs instead of just the first thing.
Don't you think that's a little different though? Like then in bed, like impulsive is like, I'm just doing whatever I'm wanting in the moment. I feel reactive then becomes for Dean, I'm really paying attention. I'm being mindful of what's happening. So that's how I feel it's a little bit different. Sometimes like he's being in the present with his partner, and he's really taking the time to say, okay, what does this partner need from me? And then, again, like I did a whole chapter about this interview. Like I was just like, I really feel like for him, it's about what he can do for the pleasure and safety aspect, even if it's just in a moment with another person. And I think impulsive is more of what he does. He gets chided about it by Sam all the time. You just went in, or like we just go in guns blazing. And so, like, and that's a different aspect to him. Literally like, Dean, stop, take a breath, think about the situation. I feel like he does that more with his partners. I think you see that more with his partners. Again, and that's just, I think that's the ability to just express yourself differently and take out, just like, okay, like, I'm here now. I don't have to be, oh my God, this is what's happening. This is I don't know. It feels like a little teeny tiny difference to me. Just a little bit of a slightly nuanced thing.
No, I totally see it. And I totally see that they fall under the same umbrella, but reactive and impulsive, very different. But also, what if, go with me, what if Dean's just really into delayed gratification? And Sam's really fucking not. So Sam's like, I need this and I need it now. And Dean's like, I need this, but it's going to be so much better if I wait. You know, maybe. And so
see, I don't think you
takes
get that
the time.
In real life, in their real life situations, I don't think you get that as much. You know, like when you see what Dean's like, just no gratification. And now, boom, I'm going to delay it. You know,
it's. I'm not saying it's a cast iron theory. I'm just like, you know,
I like it. I like the theory. I'm going with it.
I'm just right. All right. Like full disclaimer. I am not selfish in bed, but if I don't get mine, we're going to have an argument. So I find it very difficult to understand people like Dean who can just focus on another and wait their turn, so to speak. I'm like, no, it's my go. And so I am. There is something. What the fuck? It's called a pleasure dom or something like that I heard about a little while ago, and it's like. It's people who take charge in the bedroom, but they are only focused on the other person's pleasure, and they can go without. And I'm like, it's not over till everyone's had an orgasm, guys. It's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
Nope.
There may be more reasons why I connect the Dean.
I've spoken to about this. It's been like, yeah, no, so the other person gets off. Like, I'm fine. You know, I'm really more focused on the other person's pleasure than my own. And I'm like, fucking no, I will have a sulk like a teenage boy and cry that my blue balls are going to kill me. I will have such a fucking mood about it.
God, I mean, then that does just encapsulate the idea of Dean being othered. You know what I mean? Like if you really just take it to that extent, where if there's one person that's being displayed as the subject, then you get into that. And it's like, yeah. You know, I love this person that wrote this, that went on and on about this. Thank you, Frozen Delight. If you ever
come
so across
much.
This, there's so much.
No, I'll tag them. Are they still? If they're still active on Twitter, I will tag them. Not on Twitter, on Tumblr. I will tag them in this post and be like, "Hello, we did a whole thing on your thing. We did a whole thing."
There's definitely more that I think we could talk about, but I'm looking at the clock and we've already gone on about an hour and a half. I can already hear Edge. How am I supposed to listen to you guys when you go off for like 2 hours? I will say there's 3 other scenes that are talked about, types of scenes. Sleeping scenes, definitely have a read about that, because the way people just watch Dean sleep is a thing. But then
that is also real weird. Yeah.
Also go into monster shots, which is a really interesting part about how like they almost turn, you know, our beloveds into like the monsters and how they're focused on and filmed in certain scenes. Definitely look into that. And then I think there's one more. I'm scrolling.
Mannequin symbolism. So they make symbolism. Dean like the idea that Dean is not a person, is only an object, a tool, a weapon. You know, he's not. He's not like. Not like a thinking, feeling person. And they specifically, they're talking about like how the camera parallels Dean and like mannequins and wax figures and dolls.
Maybe that's why I hate that episode so much. Mannequin the Reckoning.
You don't like it.
No.
Yeah. And then like again, and it's I suppose this is worth noting down, everything here that we're looking at, an enormous part of it is acting choices. You know, the director can tell somebody how to do something, but the actor's choices are always going to influence that. So I think no matter how much the directors wanted to code Dean a certain way, if Jensen's acting choices are not aligned with that, it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
And ditto Sam, you can take someone Jared's size and tell them to be domineering in a sex scene, but if Jared's acting choices and portraying that, it won't come across that way. So
yeah,
you know, like we said right at the beginning, if the director is the head chef, the actors are contributing a lot to the meal.
They're adding the spice. They're adding like, you know, make sure we have enough this, make sure we have enough that. And then if it's off just a little bit, it's like it could still be something great. It's not maybe what the head chef envisioned, and there could be just a little something different. But then it's what people tend to maybe focus on. when they're eating the dish. I don't know. I'm trying to make this analogy come full circle. So we're working on it. We're working on it.
Yeah. So, but there is a lot more to this Tumblr post that we didn't get to. But it's Valentine's Day, y'all. So we focused on the good stuff.
Yeah.
Fucking.
And also there's another article that I'm going to link in the description because it harkens back to another episode we talked about where it's not sexual assault if it's against a man episode. And it basically just talks about flipping the male gaze aspect and how, you know, Sam and Dean are sort of like, boom, like turned into that version.
Objectified.
Yeah, that objectified that way. So definitely give this stuff a read and kind of let us know what you thought.
Look, we pulled back the chef metaphor. Like, it's fine. We didn't fully shake it out, but we pulled it back. But please go, if for no other reason than both of these articles have images and GIFs.
Yeah,
GIFs
it's just they're
so fucking good.
So good. The person took a long time and
top
effort.
tier job. Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's a great.
And also, I think the Live Journal article, which is scroll all the way. God, I've just scrolled past Becky. Fucking Becky.
That one has a lot in there too, I think.
Yeah. Right back on men, female gaze in Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one actually goes, if you haven't listened to it already, our episode, it's not sexual assault if it's against a man. The Live Journal article, right back on men, pairs really well with that. And I fucking wish we'd had it at the time. But we didn't. But that is focusing sort of on the wider portrayal of Sam and Dean in Supernatural, whereas the Frozen Delight one is, you know, specifically about the characterization and the cinematography and things like that.
Well, we'll link everything. We'll link all of the related episodes from us and like how we think they go with the recent articles we found
and then you can go and listen to the other one and you can listen to this one and then we'll have two views and we'll love you literally forever. So, you know, like that's an option that you have. I'm just saying. But like, seriously, go check out both of these articles if for no other reason than the gifts.
Yeah.
Hell.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've tangented enough.
We've tangented. Happy Unattached Drifter Christmas, guys.
And again, we will remember to, if you are not already a part of our Discord, join our Discord. We're doing something for International Fan Works Day on February 15th. We'll have information in the channel about fic wrecking and how we can just throw a whole bunch of love all over everybody who does great things in the fandom.
All the loves.
But yeah, so please, as we've gone on, let us know your thoughts as we're wrapping up this episode. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com. You can comment on Spotify and use the Q&A section to share your thoughts. All of our contact details are on our website, idlingintheimpala.com. Go check it out.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a rating. If you're listening on like podcast apps, rate us 5 stars. Don't give us 4. Come on, we're fucking awesome. 5 stars, please. Wherever you're accessing your podcast, but especially with the comments and the likes and stuff, if you're watching or listening on YouTube, that kind of engagement really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. All hail its benevolence. At time of recording, which is the 27th of January, we are 2 subscribers away from 100 on YouTube, which is like fucking hype. So come on now, if you're not subscribed and you're listening to this, or if you are listening to some different platform, you could just pop over to YouTube.
Be that
subscribe.
Person that makes us hit 100.
Change. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the support that you want to see in the world. 2 subscribers, guys. 2 subscribers.
Goodness.
So yeah, that kind of engagement helps everywhere, but it does really help on YouTube as well. As always, in the description are the current causes that we are championing. So from me, we have got 2 charities that one is based in the US and one is based in the UK, LGBTQ plus talking charities. They are there if you need to reach out to someone, if you are in crisis and you need somebody to talk to, just if you need a space to be who you are because you do not have that space in real life, that is what those charities are there for. Again, UK and US based, both in the description. From Sandra, we have got some mental health charities, and some kind of like surviving after trauma and things like that charities. Nobody's going to go 2024 is my year because we fucking learned. But, 2024 can be the year that you maybe address some things that you've been putting off and make a better you, which is all that really matters at the end of the day. Also coming in from Sandra, it's 2024, it's election season. Yay, everybody. Fucking yay. So To bastardize the Rocky Horror Picture Show and the Tenacious D cover of Time Warp, it's a jump to the left, not a step to the right, guys. Just vote blue. We don't fucking care who it is. We don't care who we're voting blue for. Just vote blue. You cannot let that maniac back in the White House or kill us all. I will die on this hill. Like, fucking please. Please, 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 please. You know, like, I have friends in the UK, in the US. You have friends in the US because we're your friends. Sandra's in the US. I don't want her to have to emigrate to Canada. That's going to be a real bitch when it comes to recording. So blue, 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 please. But Sandra has provided American civil liberties and
vote.gov.
Something. Vote.gov. Yeah. Fucking, I want to put a UK on the end of it because that's my government's website. Vote.gov. Don't put the UK on the end of it, though, because you'll end up on my country's website. It's not going to help you. But, you know, elections coming up, so we're expecting shenanigans. We're expecting random laws to be passed, regulations. You know, make sure you bring a bottle of water. Make sure you've got acceptable ID. Register early. Get your votes in early if you can. Just keep yourself appraised and up to date.
Just do some investigating, and like foresight is very helpful. Just look into the stuff in advance and make sure that you make your voice heard this election. It's very important not to just expect other people to do the thing that they're supposed to do. You have to do that as well. So yes.
You do also have to do that. So yeah, those are places that you can go and find out, you know, exactly what kind of ID you need, exactly how you get registered, all that good kind of stuff. So jump to the left, jump to the left, jump to the left. It is our hope. I say this every episode. This episode's actually being recorded pretty close to coming out. But it is our hope that by the time you are listening to this, these charities will no longer be needed. But as it stands right now, on the 21st of January, they are still very much needed. So we are championing, highlighting, spotlight, any other adjective that means to draw attention to two charities that are on the ground, both in the Ukraine, which is still under Russian occupation with the unlawful invasion. And there are still places in the Ukraine where people are trapped and they do not have access to basic necessities. And also on the ground in Gaza, which is still, and I'm never sure how to word this because Palestine is not at war with Israel. Hamas is at war with Israel. Palestine is, I don't know, it's just in the middle. It's just fucking stuck there. Gaza's just stuck there. Palestine is not at war with Israel. Although it appears more and more that Israel is at war with Palestine. So, but we're not going to get political about this. We're not. This is not political. This is purely humanitarian. There are people still in the Ukraine and in Gaza that are trapped, that are, you know, have no access to food, have no access to water, have no access to medicine. They are starving, they are dying, and they did not ask for war. So we are championing both World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders, who are, as the name suggests, providing food and medical aid on the ground, both in the Ukraine and in Gaza, and in various other places in the world that are not getting the media attention that they deserve. But if we include them in this, the outro will be longer than the episode. So we're just highlighting those ones at the moment. But if you were to go and check out World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders, they have full information on all the places around the world that they are on the ground and they are helping. So idling in the Impala, we practice what we preach. We have made a donation to both World Central Kitchen and Doctors Without Borders. We are not asking you to make monetary donations. You know, please don't put yourself in a bad financial position. Just sharing the links on social media does so much, just drawing attention to this, because as we know in the West, the news cycles move really quickly. These things dip in and out of the media, but they are still ongoing even when they're not in the current news cycle. So sharing these links around, drawing attention back to them is one of the best things that you can do. We are not asking you to donate monetarily. Just draw attention, you know, keep the world's eye on these things. Don't let them fade with the media cycle. So as always, if you can help any of the charities financially, please do not put yourself in a bad financial situation to do so. But if you are able and you can help them to keep helping others, all of the charities that was listed, that would be amazing. As we said, financial contribution is not necessary. Just sharing the links around would be incredible. And as always, if you need the help of any of the charities that we are supporting and have listed, that is what they are there for. And with that mammoth outro, we will say thank you for joining us in the backseat. Happy Unattached Drifter Christmas tomorrow. Happy International Fan Works Day on the 15th. Let us know what you're doing for International Fan Works Day. And we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.